Tino Urbina. This is Executive Checkpoint, the podcast where we dive into the insights and experiences of leaders shaping the future of technology and security. Welcome. Today, we're joined by Tom Reilly, a seasoned leader and president of Command Americas. Tom has built his career advancing unified communication solutions that support real-time security and operational efficiencies across high-stake environments like healthcare, transportation, and critical infrastructure. With over 14 years of experience in business development and strategic transformation and leadership, plus a decade of prior experience in Ernst Young, Tom brings a wealth of knowledge in leveraging technology of critical security and integrated systems. In this episode, we'll explore the latest frontiers in security, from transformative potential of AI and the cloud to role of unified communications, enhancing situational awareness. Get ready to dive into the intersection of innovation, security, and the future of technology. Tom, welcome. It's great to see you, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tino. Thanks very much. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, Tom, as always, like to begin from your background. Tell us a little bit about how you started in your career in security, or how you evolved to get to security, and it's a good point to let us know who you are.
Yeah, of course. So I've been associated with this industry really my entire professional life. I started in the early days of Commends, in the early, actually before my career even started, when I was still in school. My predecessor was my father, who was the president that really started Command Americas and really building out the brands in the States. And I had a really great opportunity to work with him early in my career. As you alluded to, I describe my career as a little bit of a back and forth between the security industry and management consulting. So I had this is my third stint with Commend, so third pass in the security industry, and I had the same number of passes, really 2 or 2.5 in the management consulting world. My most recent one, I was back at EY for about 6 years, and was recruited to come back to head up Command at the end of 2019, and really was excited about it, really for a long list of reasons, but many of them that can be summarized into the agenda for this podcast, and that's really driving what's next for the industry, and not just being a company that's influenced by trends, but one that really is pushing to drive and redefine how these technologies can be adopted for our customers. So you kind of wore two different hats, 2 different industries, but I'm happy to be back in this one and making as much of an impact as I can.
But I think that's always, to me, that's a positive, right? That experience from a completely different industry, I think, brings a more rounded leadership or expertise to the table. How do you feel your management consultancy experience complements what you're doing today?
I think it complements it perfectly. Really, regardless of what industry you're talking about, if you're trying to drive initiative and you're trying to innovate, you're leading people, you're understanding business problems, and you're managing change. So working within the management consulting space was a real, it was a real aggressive learning opportunity in all those dimensions that applies very, very well to the rapid change and the rapid evolution that's going on here. So it's all interpersonal dynamics and leading change requirements and leading teams.
Yeah, John Carter had a senior professor in Harvard University, had a great book talking about leading change. So when you mentioned that, it's a process, right? And I always remember leaders talking about trying to lead change, and their teams get excited, they say absolutely, and then they run out of the door, and people behind are still thinking how they're gonna make the change and what steps should they take, and it's a difficult situation. But how do you feel organizations should prepare for these changes and the trends, or not trends, but the new technologies coming upon us?
I think any business problem, and I feel any change problem, comes down to impacting people and building the right culture. And that's why I felt so excited about the opportunity to come back to the organization I'm a part of now. There's always going to be technological changes and opportunities that have a gravitational pull to them that will impact organizations. And they impact organizations either because they're just caught up in it, or it'll impact organizations because they see it as an opportunity to continue to live out their vision, live out their purpose in an accelerated way because of the introduction of new technology. So I feel that it's important for an organization who's considering jumping into a space, like the topic of this discussion. AI is this buzzword that is everywhere, and every organization is racing to decide how they can integrate it into their value proposition, so that they can show to their customers that they're relevant and continuing to innovate, but also to show their teams that they're relevant and continuing to innovate. Right? We all know the challenges of attracting and maintaining talent. One of the things that I feel very passionate about is that change has to really be for the right purpose that reconciles to the overall initiative of the company. Commends has been in the space of providing unified communication, high quality, trusted communication since our inception. And every step along the way, we've proceeded with awareness of technical trends and the very disciplined process of reconciling what's now possible because of technological trends with what our real core mission is, to decide when we want to double down and when we want to really focus on a different level of investment. And Commends, has done that through a lot of different frontiers. And obviously the latest is AI. The worst thing that I feel a company could do for customers, but also for their team, this is getting back to your question about how do you drive it, is it has to make sense, right? The way that you are positioning the latest capability has to make sense to your customers and to your team, to really support the mission that they've already, from the customer's perspective, already engaged with you about, already trusted with you about, or from the team's point of view, your team members, people that already hung their hat on the mission statement as a catalyst for them to build their careers. So I think it's being disciplined in ensuring that you stay true to yourself and you don't allow technical trends or opportunities to avert your gaze and take you in a different direction.
This is to get distracted, and that brings me to, I think, the perspective of potential customers or end users, right? Privacy, security, cybersecurity in specific are key points with all new technologies, but specifically with AI and cloud. How is the organization assuring that these steps are as important for you guys as they are for the customer, for the client, for the user?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. It's kind of what I'm talking about, right? So there needs to be a posture from a manufacturer, from a solution provider's perspective, that makes it very clear what they start with. And Commends has been, I think, amazingly disciplined on that. At some points, at the cost of speed of innovation in certain ways. It's obviously sales teams and customers always have a long list of expectations of where the R&D agenda should go. But at times, it's better to take a little bit of a slower approach to ensure that you develop with the right mind to your fundamental requirements. And from our perspective, we satisfied that through a statement of privacy and security by design. And we also back that up with a disciplined approach of achieving the right industry, independent certifications that validate that, and being consistent in stating that really in every direction from a branding perspective, and being very detail oriented and diligent to getting independent verification that is outside of even the realm of expectation from the industry before it's even even needed, allows you to have the presence to suggest some innovative and forward-thinking things with the customer and the market, knowing that it's from a trusted source that's going to engage with it in the right way. And I feel that that's kind of the sweet spot, right? It's being part of an organization that has the established brand and the established discipline. We're already there. You're already part of the discussion to help organizations innovate for their own business purposes. Because let's not forget, like, customers, enterprise customers across the world, regardless of the vertical, are feeling very like kind of the opposite side of the coin of the same challenges that we are as solution providers. And that's, leadership requesting an answer as to how innovation is happening. So, how is new technology being adopted to drive operational efficiencies? And then also just the general constraints of doing business and the genuine business requirement to either control, account for resource constraints, or to, control, regulatory and oversight exposure. Right. And I just think you can have those discussions much more systematically if you are a known player, a known person in the room that already has that reputation to stand on.
What will be a good example of that enhancement of unified communication through AI? What could you share with us a couple examples of how you accomplish that?
Yep. So whenever I talk about this, I try to frame it in the context of the journey that Commend's been going through for the last 10, 12 years. And that journey is what I call, and I'm sure the marketing team will listen to this and they'll say it's not the right way to explain it, but it's how I think about it. I call the symphony evolution. So we've been on a journey for the last decade of transitioning our platform and all of our devices to be truly future-proof and also evergreen in the ability to work with our legacy technology. That started with, again, something at the time. We're going back to, like, I think it was 2010 or 11, virtualizing our head end. So, large enterprise system. We used to have a server that was really the brains of it. We were the first in the industry to decide that there's a lot more we can do to this if we don't focus on just our hardware, but we decide to adopt on the trend, which is at that point virtualization of infrastructure. And that has really started what I call the symphony evolution, which is something we're probably hopefully never going to be completed on, because it's going to continue and we're going to continue to look for new ideas. But it's walking the fine line of using industry standards. So we are an open, complying with industry standards system, while still providing for our full feature set that enterprise, unified communication systems need, and also allowing for again, future-proof devices that are very capable piece of hardware basically running software on the edge to federate the intelligence and also push a lot of the capabilities out to the edge. So what does that mean? It means that you have a system that can truly be designed in a hybrid way to, evolve with an enterprise. And you're able to then deploy some of our newer capabilities on the devices to really increase operational efficiencies. So, long way to answer your question, but it's just to frame it. We now have much more capability on our hardware to allow things like conversational AI on our devices that, until very recently, and even if you look at the rest of the industry, it was kind of a weird idea. Like, why would you want to have a customized, and I don't mean customized for Commend, I mean customized for the customer's use case, conversational AI engine on an intercom? Well, it really depends on what the industry and what the customer is trying to solve. It could be about control room optimization. So answering calls automatically that would normally go to a security operations center to allow for the SOC to only handle calls that are really requiring human intervention. It could be to improve user experience on the field. So, obviously there's an optimization piece from a call not having to go to an SOC, but there's also like somebody at a, just use a museum, right? Go up to it, press a button, be able to converse with the conversation. I had to get directions to what they're most interested in for what exhibit is being offered on a daily basis, or how to navigate. These are all user experience type problems that, again, modernizing the system and pushing intelligence out to the edge, having a real hybrid approach to utilizing cloud technology is a prerequisite for. And then the other one is, so just before I transition, that those use cases of introducing a conversational AI that can even translate like languages, so there's always a clear communication, reconciles back to Commend's value proposition of trusted communication always. We always want to ensure, regardless of the situation, that high quality discussion is possible through Commend. And then the other one, just a separate example, and this one is, like when you say it, it seems so obvious, but it's actually a very hard technical problem, is using neural networks, using AI to filter out background noise. People that play in our industry know the challenges of open duplex communication in tough acoustical environments.
Industrial settings,
industrial setting, mass transport, city streets, really anywhere that the background noise is dynamic. It's a very challenging thing. Commend's really built a brand in tackling that, but us adopting AI makes it, we have and this is where I might get it right. We say cleans noise from voice. And the capabilities are pretty tremendous, but again, marry back to our value proposition of a trusted communication platform.
To me, it reflects directly in operational savings, right? And or redeployment of, your existing guard team or technical team to be utilized elsewhere. So either way you look at it, you're still benefiting from the human factor being assist, minimized, or, just make them better, right? Smarter.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the biggest questions out there is the real-time data integration. It's definitely a big challenge. How are you guys handling the complexity of integrating all these systems from unified communications and AI with all their potential audio, video partners out there?
So this is, and when the team listens to this, they're going to feel like it's a broken record because I say it a lot. I'm a firm believer in staying to our core competencies and realizing the value that we provide to our customers in the industry. And that is audio. We want to be the audio experts. We want to be the trusted audio provider. And being clear in that statement means that we're not going to do a lot of other stuff. And also nobody's going to invest in just an audio system. We are clearly part of an integrated solution that our customers eventually need. And with the way that the industry and the technology changes quickly, what I really feel is developing is the need for closer industry alliances to stay connected in the pursuit of bringing purpose-built solutions to given verticals. So like the whole verticalization narrative that a lot of people talk about now. In my mind, what is that? It's focusing on providing a solution, not a product, right? So designing a team, and this is not just a sales thing, this is a team. It's every dimension of the team that can be present to really understand the drivers for purchase and the problem statements that our customers need. And in the pursuit of having those discussions with channel partners and also with end users, and with end users in harmony with channel partners, you realize very quickly that there's really two levels of what the customer is looking for. They're looking for a solution that you can obviously satisfy, but they're also looking to somebody that can bring it all together.
Right.
An end user, pick whatever vertical you want. They need access control, they need video, they need audio, they need XYZ. But bringing all that together is where the risk really lies for anybody, right? And that's why integrators, there's such a spectrum of, the impact an innovator can make, because the really good ones are truly that trusted partner to the end user to make sense of all the noise, right? And because there is noise. There's so many different ways that you can put it together. What we're trying to do from our perspective, this this is one part necessity and one part truly what I feel the industry needs is we want to engage with strategic technology partners in a real verticalized alliance mindset of being very open and not protective, but very open as to where we see the technology going, and very honest as to what our priorities and capabilities are, and then backing up a little bit and going back to kind of square one of what are the verticals of focus, what is the driver, what is the business problem, what can we do in a unified way today, how far does it get to solving the business problem, if there's a gap, where do we take it, and that's influencing R&D agendas, and then we bring back to the table and ideally go to the market with that unified message of kind of vetted partnership. And as things continue to change as quickly as they are, I think there's going to be more and more a need for companies taking that, this is the value I provide, and I want to do it in kind of lockstep with others, sort of mantra. And I think that the complexity of the business drivers for our end users is going to really lean into that more than it already has.
Yeah, and I think to your point, a lot of end users are driving the markets and companies to make their systems better naturally because they have the needs, and it's an evolving technology. But one of the places that I think unified communications plays a very important role because it's critical in safety are critical infrastructure locations, industrial settings. How do you feel this trends fit into that category to better communicate and provide safety from a unified communications perspective?
Yeah, look, I think critical infrastructure is obviously there's a bunch of subcomponents you could dive into, but specific to like utilities and energy distribution, Commend has become even more focused in that market because of the beautiful way that its requirements have evolved with what our capabilities are. So on the surface, we've as a company developed a very strong presence within the utility space because of just the spread out nature of it, right? I mentioned before that Commend, took a look at early technologies and decided when to invest. Well, we happen to be one of the earliest to invest in IP technology, way back when. And because of that, we were able to solve a business problem for utilities very early on, which is we have a lot of sites that need to communicate centrally, right? So Commend's realized and still does enjoy a very healthy market share just for that pure reason of being able to really centralize communication within SOC. Now, fast forward, the problem statements for the utility market, as it has for other critical infrastructure, has evolved even further, and I feel in very much lockstep with what we've been earnestly working to stay ahead of as a solution provider, and that's cybersecurity, right? And it's also regulatory compliance, right? So cybersecurity, again, Commend leading with cyber privacy and security by design, and seeking independent certifications that credentialize that. And this is where like the building the team part of it, also putting the effort to articulate the why these statements matter, not just to somebody that we're looking to like promote a solution to, but to the people that even have already invested, our existing partners, understanding why the obsession that we have as a manufacturer really matters to them, and how it helps mitigate risk, because it really all comes down to mitigating risk, obviously. Then further, you're really working to understand the compliance mandate that they have. Everybody hears about NERC-CIB. What does that mean? Well, it's just a bunch of rules that these energy
very expensive
providers,
rules,
very expensive, yeah, but very, very, very specific list of rules that have a lot of risk associated with non-compliance. And because of that, there is a very heavy responsibility on the security teams for those utilities in ensuring compliance. and they get, I'm sure they get sold to on those concepts very frequently. Everybody walks in with a buzzword, right?
Oh yeah.
But what is it? Well, it's it's a collection of rules that need to be cleanly mapped to capabilities. And in this statement of alliances, we become very purposeful in who we want to partner with, in order to have the right seat at the table to articulate that value proposition in a very non-salesy, much more consultative way.
Right.
And that's really important to him.
A big part of it, I think, is also that some companies out there add the AI and cybersecurity lightly, and they're really not bringing the value of the certifications and expertise in one side. The other side is, I think sometimes end users tend to be reactive because they might not have the expertise internally, so they lean on an integration group potentially, or somebody else that is almost like the blind leading the blind. So in my perspective, I think the best things that companies need to do is find that expert, remove the blind leading the blind, or lean in the partnership of manufacturers like Command to do the heavy lifting and assist them and have a better perspective on implementation. And I think that it's unfair to call AI a trend anymore. It's coming fast and furious. But if you were to sit in the opposite side from an end user standpoint of view, maybe a director of sales, CTO, what would be your recommendations for them to, analyze good partners? What makes a good partner or a good solution for them to bring them on board, or to onboard someone that might be a good expert?
Yeah. And this goes back to, I think, the earlier question you asked about how do you drive change, and how do you build teams, and how do you reconcile that with culture? Though my team would probably say I make things more complicated, I actually try to make things more simple. But sometimes you have to make things complicated before you can identify the path to simplification. But I view this as purely going back to foundational statement of what is the business problem, and who do you trust to help you navigate the solutioning around that. And the statement of trust really is the same whether you're talking about AI or whether you're talking about any organizational change. But heck, even if you're talking about just like a friendship, right? How do you verify if you can trust? Well, you could take the path of verifying who they're already friendly with and trusted by, right? So, somebody's bringing a solution to you, you want to check references. So that marries back to where are they already doing business, and for how long? Are they a new player? Are they established player? What's their brand? And then also, who do they know? Who is the company that's offering you a solution? Who are they running around with? Who are their alliance partners? How do they articulate that? Does it seem like it's a superficial thing, or is there depth to it? Talking to the people, right? Do the people sound like they're trying to sell you something, or does it really seem like they're curious about your business problem, wanting to understand it, and maybe not focus on the transaction, but instead the longer business opportunity or business partnership, I should say. And then, I guess really the last one is looking, and again, if that process doesn't work, then you look for independent verification.
Right.
What certifications are out there? How has this been vetted? Do they have a discipline of privacy? What's their culture? What's the culture of the country where the solution is originating? And then reconciling that with what's the path of acquisition? Is it a product that's then sold and then kind of left to be, or is there an ongoing kind of discipline of partnership development? Things change so quickly; it really matters where you get it from, because something that's exciting today becomes commoditized tomorrow, and then you're just left with the partnership, in my opinion.
Right. I think in technology, and especially in security, you see this trend, well, not trend, this discipline to implement change, because it has come so fast, right? We went from analog to the internet, IoT, OT, interconnectivity of things, and now we bandwidth increased, the speed is incredible. Now we're with the AI, just bringing new things. Well, Tom, what will be? We're coming to the end of our conversation, but I always like to ask our guests a little bit of wisdom, and it usually comes from what you know today. What would you tell your younger self when you started your career? If you want to reflect back to your earliest career or insecurity that um, you think will be important for young Tom to know.
It's easy for me to answer because I have a young Tom at home who's
There
just
you go.
turned into a teenager, and I do often give him advice. Whether he appreciates it now, I hope he will at some point. But he's a great
Sure.
kid. He's actually a great listener. And the most simple thing I told him, and I had I was really blessed early in my career that somebody made this very clear to me, that it's all about people and individual personal relationships. And I had a mentor, and actually I'll maybe use this as a reason to reconnect with him because it's been a long time, at EY, who I was pointed to him when I was first interning, and somebody I was working with, I think, noticed that I had maybe a more of an interest in understanding people and the business problem than others. So they said, "Hey, you should go speak with Robert Gleason." So Robert Gleason was a business development partner at EY. Figured he'd give me some words of wisdom, and he just made it clear in our meeting that business problems always change, and the complexity of business is always going to increase. But the one common element is going to be engaging with people and influencing people in a genuine way. You never want to be viewed as taking advantage of somebody, and you also never want to be caught up in the moment. And he actually slipped me a copy of, it's cliche, but the Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People book. And I
Sure.
still believe to this day, and I read constantly. My wife laughs at me. I usually about 8 books going at a time, but one that I always keep next to me is that book because it's very foundational. Once you learn how to truly connect with people and engage with them in a not trying to influence negatively, but a true curious way that the collective can move forward as long as we all look at the business problem and opportunities that will result from achieving something. You can get through a lot. So my advice to the younger self is really just focus on solving a business problem, really looking at what your true sort of brand and identity is, and realizing that it's only possible through influencing people in a positive way and through a positive message and positive example.
Well, Tom, this went a little too fast for my liking, but I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you did as well. Thanks for sharing. I think there's a lot of nuggets that came out of this short chat. In the future, we'll plan to have a roundtable with a few, maybe not opposite, but different discipline leaders, and have a common conversation. So hopefully you're able to join us for the next round.
Yeah.
And where can people contact you? Through LinkedIn, through Commen's website? What's the best way to get in touch with you to further this conversation, personally or professionally?
Yeah. Would love to continue the conversation with your podcast, and a roundtable sounds awesome. But yeah, from engagement, I'd love to hear from anybody. LinkedIn's the best way. I feel that with all the notifications we receive and emails we receive, LinkedIn is the one that I think stares you in the face most, in a most kind of material way. So you get to understand who the person is, and you get to see it really quickly. So LinkedIn's the best. And if there's ever questions or topics that you think would be interesting to continue on, just let me know.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much, Tom, and for the audience, click the like button, and if you have questions, comments, let us know. Thank you for watching.